When you're running your business, do you ever look at the financial statements or the reports that you get on a weekly or monthly basis and think, oh my gosh, these numbers are all wrong? Well, I've got to tell you, you're not alone. A lot of business owners, a lot of managers, they do this time and time again. And honestly, as an accountant, I heard this many, many times. And I remember early in my career, I'd say, oh my gosh, I must have made a mistake. I'd go back to my desk, I'd work through everything. But what I noticed was the financial statements actually were exactly as they were first presented. And then I would go back, I would present it to the ownership team, talk to the board of directors and say, hey, this is where we're at. And they're like, well, we don't understand. And I was like, hearing these numbers are wrong, it's a very vague statement. And the bigger question is what are we trying to accomplish? This happens with a lot of business owners. And I'm gonna give you a great example. This happens a lot with general contractors. What happens is they go out and they get a project, and let's just say they're gonna go do a screened-in porch. They go out, they price it out, and they say, you know what, we're gonna charge the customer $50,000. And then we've done all the analysis, and they're like, it'll only cost us, let's say, $41,000. So we'll actually be able to make $9,000 on this project. And then they sell another screened-in porch, and then maybe they sell a few other projects. And then the end of the month or the end of the year, the financial statements come out and it says you're losing money for the year. And they're like, what are you talking about? We're making money on every single thing we do. Well, they're not wrong. On every project, they're making money, but they're actually not taking into consideration all of the expenses it takes to run the business. So yes, all of the contractors, all of the materials, all of that is included in the project. But what about your marketing? What about the cost of the accounting team? What about your insurance? How is that being accounted for? And not only that, sometimes people will go a step further and say, well, what I did is I applied an overhead rate so I could cover our overhead rate. I'd be like, oh, where did you get your overhead rate? They're like, oh, I Googled it, and it says the overhead rate for my type of company should be 20%. It's like, okay, well, is your overhead actually 20%? And what happens is they actually haven't spent the time to try to figure out what their actual overhead is. When business isn't good, they're like, oh, we're gonna just cut overhead. Well, you can cut overhead to a certain degree, but it's not gonna save your business. You're trying to find a way to make margin on every single thing you do that comes from sales, but you need that background support to do that. And you've gotta make sure that the margin made on every project is going to be more than all of your overhead, and whatever's left is your profit. That's accounting mumbo jumbo. A lot of people aren't here to talk about that. And to be honest, I don't want to talk about it right now. But what I do want to talk about is how you get to the point so you can have those conversations when you're ready. What you need to do is, instead of wondering what numbers are wrong, think about what the right numbers are. What we're actually trying to do is figure out how much did we make? Because again, that general contractor was 100% correct. They were making money on every project they did. The company as a whole was not making money. So getting to a point where you can build a structure that you can address both how much you're making on the projects and how it filters to the company and make sure they align is very, very important, because your bookkeeper is actually going to be the one entering in the information in the way so you get those reports. But you may need additional help to say, hey, how should I structure this so I can make better decisions? How can I get this in line so when I look at the numbers, I can't say they're wrong. I can say whether they're positive or negative, and I can also see where I can make changes to my business to have a positive impact on my bottom line.